Hey everyone, welcome back to another deep dive with me
And me.
yeah. So
Glad to be here.
we are going deep today.
Yeah.
We're going deep on a creature that not a lot of people know about.
A real mystery?
Yeah, a real mystery. And huge shout out to our sponsor, Sheba Coffee and Tico. You know what? I was thinking about this deep dive earlier today and how much I love Sheba Coffee and Tico, and I thought, you know what? This is like the perfect pairing
It is.
for this episode because you need your brain to be firing on all cylinders when you're
Yeah.
delving into a mystery like this.
Absolutely.
Sheba Coffee and Tico, thanks for fueling this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about Dutoit's torrent frog.
Right.
You ever heard of this frog?
I have now.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, a lot of people haven't.
Yeah.
Because this frog is so incredibly rare
Very elusive.
that only 2 people have ever documented seeing it.
Wow.
And the last sighting was in 1962, so
It's a long time.
it's been a while. So this is truly a deep dive into a mystery.
It is.
So to kind of set the scene,
Okay.
imagine yourself on the slopes of Mount Elgon in Kenya. This is a massive extinct volcano.
Right.
It's home to these really unique montane forests, which are...
Yeah, kind of like sky islands.
Yeah.
Right. They're up high and they're surrounded by these drier lowlands, and so you get these unique habitats.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. And there are all these species that are found nowhere else on Earth.
Yeah, it's incredible. And that's where this little frog comes in.
Right.
Dutoit's torrent frog.
Okay.
Tiny little guy, only about 1.2 inches long.
Small but mighty.
Yeah, and it lives near fast-flowing streams in these forests.
Okay.
We're not talking about like a lazy river here.
No.
This is like whitewater rapids.
Yeah, very turbulent, rocky streams.
So not exactly your typical frog habitat.
Right. It's a very specialized habitat, and they've adapted to survive there. I mean, clinging to rocks and roots, navigating rapids, even camouflaging themselves against the dark volcanic rock.
It's like a ninja frog.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go back to the beginning of this mystery.
Okay.
1934, a researcher named Cornelius Dutoit is exploring the Koitobas River on Mount Elgon.
Wow.
And he stumbles upon this tiny frog that had never been documented before.
What a great day out in the field.
I know. And to have a species named after you, like Dutoit's torrent frog.
That's the dream.
That's every biologist's dream.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So he collects 3 specimens.
Okay.
A female that was carrying eggs.
Okay.
A male and a juvenile.
Oh, wow.
And then for almost 30 years, nothing.
Silence.
His discovery is the only record.
The only record.
Yeah, of this frog's existence.
But that's still really valuable. You know, the specimens are like a baseline of information about the frog. You know, its morphology, the habitat, even its reproductive behavior.
Yeah.
Just from those 3 specimens.
But we needed someone to observe these frogs in the wild to really understand how they behaved. And that's where our second, and sadly last confirmed sighting comes in 1962, Ronalda Keith.
Okay.
She's studying birds
Okay.
in the Suam River area,
Uh-huh.
also on Mount Elgon.
Okay.
And she just happens to come across a population of Dutoit's torrent frogs.
Wow, what a find.
I know.
And lucky for us, she kept really detailed field notes.
Yeah, tell me about these notes. What did she observe?
Well, she described how they were so well camouflaged against the rocks. They blended in so well.
No wonder no one can find them.
Exactly. And she also noted that they were powerful swimmers navigating those rapids with no problem, and the males calling from their shelters, defending their territories, and the females laying these large pigmented eggs in a jelly-like mass.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
But then
Poof.
they're gone.
They're gone, like they vanished into thin air.
No one has seen a Dutoit's torrent frog since 1962.
It's a mystery.
So what happened to these frogs? Why did they disappear? Is there any hope of finding them again?
I don't know, but that's what we're going to try to figure out today.
Let's do it. Okay, so we've got this mystery on our hands. Dutoit's torrent frog. Only 2 people have ever seen it, and it vanishes.
Right.
What happened to them?
It's tough to say. Usually it's not just one thing, you
Right.
know? It's a lot of different factors that kind of come together.
Okay, so what are some of the things that we know could be impacting amphibians especially in a place like Mount Elgon?
Well, one of the biggest is habitat loss.
Yeah.
These forests are facing a lot of pressure from logging agriculture people cutting down trees for charcoal.
It's like their home is shrinking.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And, amphibians are especially sensitive to changes in their environment because their skin is so permeable.
Yeah.
So they absorb water through their skin. They can even breathe through it.
Right.
So if there are pollutants in the water or the water quality changes, that can really harm them.
Okay, so we've got habitat loss. What about diseases? Are there any diseases that are a big threat to amphibians?
Oh, yeah, there's one that's been devastating amphibian populations worldwide.
Really?
Chytridiomycosis.
Whoa, that's a mouthful.
It is. It's caused by a fungus called Batrachocatrium dendrobatitis, or bleedy for short.
Bleed.
Okay.
What does it do to the frogs?
Well, it attacks the keratin in their skin.
Okay.
And remember, amphibians rely on their skin for respiration and water regulation.
Right.
So when bleed disrupts that, it can be fatal.
Oh, well, that's awful.
It's like having your lungs and kidneys slowly shut down.
That's terrible. And this is a global problem, right? I've heard about this before.
Yeah, it is. It's been linked to declines and extinctions of amphibians all over the world.
Wow.
And considering other frog species in East Africa have been hit by bleed, it's pretty likely that Du Toit's torrent frog wasn't spared.
Okay, so we've got habitat loss making them weaker, and then this fungus potentially finishing them off.
Yeah, it's a bad combination.
But is there any proof that Bube was actually present in the area where this frog lived?
Well, we don't have any historical samples from Du Toit's torrent frog to test for bleed,
Right.
but researchers have found breed in other frog species on Mount Elgon, so it's very likely that it was present in those streams.
Okay, so it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
So we've got these threats, habitat loss disease, but are there any signs of hope? Were people still looking for this frog?
They say absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence.
Right.
And there are some folks out there who haven't given up.
Okay.
Organizations like the EGG of Existence Program and the Mohammed bin Zayed Species Conservation Fund.
Tell me about Eddie G. What is that?
Well, they focus on species that are both evolutionarily distinct and globally endangered.
ADGE species.
Right.
Evolutionarily distinct. What does that mean?
It means they represent a large chunk of unique evolutionary history.
Okay.
Like if you think of the tree of life, EDGE species are on those long, solitary branches.
I see
They're
that.
like living relics.
So losing them would be like losing a whole branch of the tree of life.
Exactly. And Du Toit's torrent frog is a perfect example. Its closest relatives are found in the Seychelles,
Wow.
thousands of miles away.
So they're a really ancient lineage.
Yeah, potentially millions of years old.
Wow. That's incredible. So
Yeah.
what is EDG doing to try and find them?
They've supported surveys in the areas where it was last seen, but, searching for a tiny frog in dense, fast-flowing streams,
Right.
it's really hard.
Like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the Mohammed bin Zayed Species Conservation Fund?
They awarded a grant in 2019 for a project specifically focused on Du Toit's torrent frog in Uganda,
Yep.
trying to understand its distribution, population status, and habitat preferences. And importantly, they're involving local communities in the research.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is really important for long-term conservation.
So there's still hope.
Well, it's a long shot, but I think it's worth looking.
Absolutely. And even if it's gone, what can we learn from this story?
It's a powerful reminder that even the smallest creatures can play important roles in ecosystems, and that losing a species, especially one as unique as Du Toit's torrent frog, is like losing a piece of a puzzle that we may never be able to replace.
Yeah, it makes you think about the interconnectedness of everything.
Exactly.
Like losing one species can impact the whole ecosystem.
Right.
So we've talked about the mystery, the threats, the glimmers of hope. But I keep coming back to this question. What does it mean for a species to disappear without us ever really understanding it?
That's a good question, and I think it gets to the heart of what we lose when biodiversity declines.
So we're back, and I want to go back to this question we were talking about before. What does it mean for a species to disappear without us ever really understanding it?
It's kind of sad when you think about it, all the secrets this frog holds.
Yeah.
About how it's adapted to its environment, its evolutionary history, its role in the ecosystem.
Secrets we might never know.
Exactly, like losing a library before we even had a chance to read the books.
Yeah.
We might never know, what medicinal compounds could be hidden in its skin, or what we could learn about amphibian evolution from studying its behavior.
Or even just like how its disappearance might impact the other creatures in its habitat.
Right. It's all connected.
Yeah, it's like extinction isn't just about losing one species, it's losing a whole world of knowledge and possibilities.
Absolutely. And, it really highlights how interconnected everything is.
Yeah,
We tend to think of species as these isolated things, but they're all part of this web of relationships.
right. So losing one species can have ripple effects throughout the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. Dutoit's torrent frog might be tiny, but, it could be a major food source for certain birds.
Oh, yeah.
Its tadpoles might help control algae. Its burrows could provide shelter for other insects we just don't know.
We really don't. And it's kind of scary to think that we're losing species faster than we can study them.
Yeah, it's a race against time. And it's not just about scientific curiosity either. Biodiversity is the foundation of healthy ecosystems. And those ecosystems provide us with all sorts of benefits.
Yeah, they give us clean air and water, food, medicine. So what
Exactly.
can we do to help? I mean, these global issues can feel so overwhelming.
I know. But even small things can make a difference. I think the most important thing is to educate yourself.
Yeah.
Learn about the threats to biodiversity, not just amphibians, but all kinds of plants and animals.
And for people who want to do more.
There are tons of conservation organizations out there that you can support with your time or your money.
Right.
Even just spreading awareness on social media.
Yeah.
Talk to your friends and family about these issues. The more people understand the importance of biodiversity, the better.
So even though this deep dive has been about a frog that might already be gone, it's really a story about hope.
Yeah,
Hope that we can learn from our mistakes and make better choices in the future and maybe prevent other species from disappearing.
absolutely. Every species, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem, has a story to tell, a role to play, and a right to exist.
Well said. And that wraps up our deep dive into the mystery of Dutoit's torrent frog.
A fascinating creature.
Huge thanks to Sheba Coffee and Tico for keeping us fueled and focused.
The best.
You can find a link to their website in the show notes. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking questions.